What do you wish people knew about podcasting that they don't know?
About podcasting as a whole, or about my process in general?
I think as a whole, it looks like this, oh, you have a podcast show, like it's so amazing. And, it has a lifestyle or an identity that goes with it. And sometimes that's not the case. Sometimes that is the case, but there are different things that I think that people don't see on the outside with podcasting.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think at its core that we as humans are storytellers. And I think that we lean into story, into mythology to describe the parts of the world that are so hard for us to put into language. And I think that this gives us a sense of connection to one another and also to something bigger and something more mysterious. And I think that podcasting is in many ways a place that we've come to create a campfire in the now, right? This is our modern campfire. But I think that within that is that a lot of work can go into telling a story, a lot of experience. I think in the case of podcasting, a lot of research. I know that for myself, I do a lot of background on guests in order to bring forth something deeper. And that this is work, number one, that this is a creative work and requires background and reading and technical pieces and all of these different things that you're doing to put it out there, but also that there is an art to this, that there is an art to interviewing, that there is a creative force behind podcasting. And I think many of us, and I am sure you are one of these people, that there is a greater story that we are telling, that it over these common threads that run through all the guests. I sometimes liken this to the idea that I'm putting together a puzzle, and I can't fully see exactly what the picture is, but I can feel when people have some pieces of that puzzle. And this is something that I am bringing into the world as an act of creation.
I said in my stories on Instagram the other day, because have you ever gone back and listened to your first episodes on the podcast?
No.
I haven't yet, but I'm like, I can't imagine how much they've shifted and changed. And it's like I'm learning and healing out loud. And it's creating this tapestry is what I really received of this bigger web of, your life, my life, but far greater than that. It like the interconnectedness of the mycelium and the roots and all of that is created with this podcast, with your podcast. It's a creation. It's an art.
I love that. And I love the imagery of weaving a tapestry. I often say of my podcast that I'm exploring the threads of what it means to be humans woven into this earth, because I think that there is this tapestry and interwovenness of beingness that we're exploring, that you're exploring. And there is so much healing in it. And I say this often on my intros, but every single guest changes the trajectory of my life. And I am amazed at the power of that to happen. Just how transformative this act of sharing story can be.
Yeah. Yeah. One thing that really caused a stirring in me was one of your intros where you asked for reciprocity and a Patreon portal, Substack. And I know it's like you get so uncomfortable, right? Because it's like speaking about money and podcasting. But I think that that's something that people don't realize is the time that goes into podcasting for really, there's not a reciprocity there. Does that, and when you said about your Patreon portal, I was like, I will join Kate's Patreon portal because I receive so much from your podcast episodes. And so I think that's something that people don't realize with podcasting is that we're putting our heart and soul literally out there for not a lot of return.
No.
I
And
mean,
I
it
think people
fills the
think
soul.
it does. Yes. I mean, this fills my cup immensely. And
Yeah.
we have to operate within a paradigm that requires money for us to operate in. And this is where the majority of my time and work is spent.
Yeah.
And I think that there's this idea that it just takes a couple of hours a week, when in fact it takes much, much more than that. Yeah. And so this is preventing my ability to go do other work. And again, that's a choice too, right? Like, this is my choice to lean into this. And I think to ask for the idea of reciprocity, or what Charles Eisenstein would call living in the gift, that we give these gifts to one another in order to grow our greater community. And there are times when I think podcasting feels like speaking into the void, that you're just kind of talking into the nothingness. And I was reminded really sweetly last night, from someone that I don't see very often that listens to the podcast, that there are also silent people out there that, while they may not be responding, are in that act of receiving. And I think that we are receiving something from that level of reciprocity. It just might be a little bit more hidden.
Yeah. It's like the people that are watching are usually the silent ones that you don't even know about. And it's an art.